Afternoon, everyone. We are just waiting for others to join. We will start at exactly 2 p.m. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ron here from Control Techniques Singapore. Good afternoon to most of you. And I think for our guests in India, I suppose it should be morning right now. So, good morning to you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this session. I call it more on the sharing session, okay, on the negotiation skills. First of all, okay, my name is Ron. I'm from Control Techniques Singapore, and I'm in charge of the business development in Asia Pacific, excluding China. Yeah. Some familiar names in this chat in this webinar right now. Let me start. So this sales negotiation skills is about 2.5 to 3 hours. It provides insights to the basic framework and the basic negotiation skills. So I hope that we share these some of the techniques and the possible elements of negotiation with you. And then, it can help you. Yeah. Yeah. So before I move forward, please everyone, just turn off your video. I'm glad to see you in your homes. Most of us are working from home. So if you don't mind, because sometimes it may cause a bit of lag. So please help me to turn off your video and then mute your audio as well. So if there's any questions, you can post it on the chat. There's a chat box. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for your cooperation. Okay, so now let's start. Yeah, so okay, the very first question that most of us always ask ourselves, what is the difference between selling and negotiation? Okay, selling is more like, when you are a seller, you have a solution or a product. that will actually helps to resolve a customer's or a buyer's needs at a given time, whereby negotiation is actually the process whereby both you as the seller and your customer, the buyer, agree to the terms of a deal. So when does negotiation begin? Negotiation usually begin when when you have a first contact with your customer. So these are the key things that we'll be touching on during this session. So let's look at the objectives of this training session, of this sharing session. So first, understanding what negotiation is. Okay, identifying your negotiation style. Okay, it's not only by identifying your own style, but also your customer's negotiation style. Understanding the behaviors of negotiation. Okay, describe the negotiation climate and the situation. And of course, how to adapt during a negotiation. Sometimes negotiation can lead to a very extreme outcome, whereby sometimes the other party may turn to be very hostile or nasty. So how do we adapt during such situations? Understanding the steps of negotiation and preparing concessions or trade-offs. So negotiation can be compared something like to playing chess. Okay, to reach an agreement, there are some pieces of the chess that you're willing to sacrifice. Okay, during the game, you give up something in return of winning the game. Okay, or you get something in return. So how we define negotiation? Different people will have different perception or thinking about negotiation. So sometimes we think that some people may think that it's a discussion between two parties. It can be like a simple dialogue, okay? Or people even scrutinize, especially about the terms and conditions of the contract agreement or the deal. Okay, sometimes people go into argument. Okay, you argue with the other party. It's a basic conversation. Okay, wait, sorry. Okay, it can be an exchange between two parties or two or more parties, and ultimately sometimes it can also go into a debate. So what is a real negotiation? Okay. If selling is the process in getting someone to do something, then you will think of negotiation as the process of gaining agreement, especially on the terms of how the business or the transaction will be done. So it's something like, if you are going to do something, or if you are going to give me something, then I will do something or give you something in return. Okay, so that's basically if we put a negotiation in a nutshell to simplify things. So negotiation is just like the tip of the iceberg. So what we are doing is only a small part, on the tip of the iceberg, on the part. So what actually goes down on the bottom will have the greatest impact. So these are all the key elements contributing to the process of negotiation. So what is a negotiation? Okay, it's a process, by which the involved parties or the group resolve matters of dispute, okay, by holding discussions and coming to agreement, and it has to be mutually agreed by all the parties or both the parties. And of course, the most important thing of negotiation, why do we want to go into negotiation? There must be an ultimate objective or goal that we are seeking. So the ultimate key to negotiation is, it refers to coming to closing a business deal or bargaining on some product. Okay, we can talk all day long, we can negotiate all day long for weeks and for months, or even maybe sometimes even for years. But the most key element is to close business deal. Else what we are doing during the process of negotiation will just go down to the drain if you don't close the business deal. So what are some of the challenges that we face during a negotiation with someone? Of course, most of us in the trade, we will always, the first thing that comes to the mind will be, oh, it's about the price. You know, the customer or even the supplier, always we always have the issue with the price. Price is always the key factor in most of the negotiation. Okay, that contributes to a high percentage in the negotiation. But what else can we talk other than price? Okay, there are a lot of other value-added elements that we can discuss amongst the parties, or between both parties. So why do negotiations fail? It's because sometimes the other party, or even we ourselves, we have a combat mentality, a never lose kind of mentality. It's like, when I go and visit a customer or going to a particular vendor, I always tell myself that I have to win at all costs. I don't care about how the other party is going to feel. I don't care about the relationship. I just want to win and get what I set out to do. So a very combat mentality. And that may also result in a debate rather than negotiate. And that basically boils down to the tone of the negotiator. Okay, how do we talk to the other party? The tone. Okay, issues not clearly defined. That means different types of expectations. We don't manage expectations. So sometimes even you yourself or even the other party will misunderstand you. Ego and pride. So sometimes you may think that we are more competent or more capable than the other party, that we refuse to go into a proper negotiation with them because of ego and pride. Similarities in style. So like, for example, I come with a combat mentality, and the other party also comes with a combat mentality. So basically the whole negotiation process will turn out to be more like a war zone. You are fighting, you are taking time to talk, and you don't let the other party talk. So that you will never have a good negotiation. So you are very similar in your style or even in your behavior. High emotion. So sometimes things get emotional, and it can become very personal. And then we have, let's say, a personal attack on the other party. And that will hit their ego and pride as well. Okay, lack of trust. You don't trust the other party because most of the time the other party may be, is not a close friend of yours, and perhaps you have only met him maybe only the first time, or even only for a couple of times. Excessive or unrealistic demands. So sometimes most of the time we may face this issue whereby your customer may tell you that I need you to give me a 50% discount. So that is a very unrealistic demand. Personality clash, and of course there may be even more others. So we have come across a lot of negotiations, or even with our colleagues, and sometimes we do have some let's say joint visits together with our colleagues to certain vendors or customers. So we have actually observed how they negotiate with the other party. So during the kind of observations, what are the skills that they have demonstrated to make them an effective negotiator? Yeah, sorry, if someone please mute your audio. Thank you very much. Okay, and then what skills do they possess? Yeah, sorry, okay, thank you. Okay, and then what are their behaviors as well? So these are the key things that we always observe an effective negotiator. So what are the attributes of a good negotiator? Okay, they seek more information, they ask questions, and they will They will ask a lot of questions to help them to better understand the other party. Good use of a question. That's basically we talk about spin selling. Okay, just a little bit on this spin. S stands for situation, so it's how you establish the buyer's current situation. P stands for the problem. Okay, so you identify problems that the buyer, okay, that your buyer will face, and especially that your product can help to solve. That means your product or your solution can help to solve that problem. Okay, implication. So explore the cause and effect of those problems that your buyer is facing, and the N stands for the needs pay off. So you have to show why does your product why is it worth it? Why what makes your buyer wants to buy your product or your solution? Okay, so the needs pay off. So basically, spin selling is another course on its own. Okay, test the understanding of the whole deal or with of the other party of the buyer. Okay, review and summarize. This is actually important. Okay, every single terms or conditions of the negotiation process, you will always need to review it and then you summarize the point. Okay, do it point by point. So, for example, you review and then you summarize point number 1 before you go to point number 2. Okay, always lead the discussion, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to speak. Okay, you don't always get the airtime to talk. Okay, let the other party talk also, but you will lead the discussion because sometimes the other party may get overly excited, or they may get distracted, and they may the whole discussion or the whole conversation will lead to some other topics, like maybe you talk about his personal stuff, this and that, which is also good. But of course, you have to know when to put a stop to it. Okay. Avoid disagreement. Don't always disagree with the other party, because you are in that way you'll be also trying to put the other party down. Like you don't trust him. Whatever he says is not correct, and then I don't agree with you. What you say is wrong. Okay, so that becomes a very negative approach towards the whole process. Share your thoughts and feelings about what the other party say. So let's say, for example, the other party mentioned about certain things about the deal, okay, about the contract, and then you have to share what do you think about his feedback. Okay, don't just keep quiet and look at him. Choose your language carefully. Of course, we don't curse and swear at the other party. Don't get overly emotional. So choose the language carefully, and especially it may also be in terms of different types of language. For example, the other party may not be very well versed in English. So maybe perhaps, for example, he speaks Mandarin, and he don't really understand English, for example. So during this kind of negotiation, perhaps you may have to get another negotiator, which can actually help you to translate, or or even help to talk to the other party, because sometimes they may misunderstand the terms or the words that you use, and then they can get angry or personal. Defend and attack decisively. Usually we don't really attack, okay, or really defend, but trying to set out all to raise up the terms of the contract and the value added services that you can offer. Okay, reduce the number of counter offers, because if you start giving away a lot of things, so most probably the other party will know that you have a lot in your pocket, so they will never end the negotiation. They will keep thinking that you have something else to offer, you have more to offer, and basically it will just drag the whole negotiation process. So reduce the number of counter offers, and very importantly, the clarity. Okay, we have to seek clarity in all our negotiation. Okay, during the process, there may be a lot of misunderstandings. So that is why we ask questions, we test the understanding, and we seek clarity. And how do we seek clarity? How do we know that the other party is also clear about what we say? So that's why you have to review and understand. Okay, review and summarize every single point before you go to the next point number 2 or point number 3. So we talk about the different types of behavior of people. So basically we have this red and blue test, whether you are a red guy or you are a blue guy. Okay, so usually those people who are in the red, okay, they are very competitive. One party wins or gains more. Okay, that means you have a combat mentality. Okay, you tend to be more domineering if you are a red person. Okay, you want to dominate and you want to basically lead the whole discussion and maybe perhaps not wanting the other party to speak. Most of the deals are one-off. It's because you don't really care about the relationship to build long-term relationship with the other party, and because you seek out to obtain your goals or your objectives for this particular deal. That's why maybe the deals can only be one-off. Okay, you bluff or you lie to the other party, and you tend to be more defensive. You are more guarded. Whereas on the other hand, the blue person actually seeks more on the long-term partnership. Okay, they want to strike a win-win situation. They care more about relationships. Okay, they want a win-win situation, and most of the time the deals will be repeated. Okay, that means you close this deal, and then in future you will have more future transactions, more future deals with this particular customer. The blue people tend to be more open-minded and transparent in what they say or what they do. Okay, and for the red people, the extreme behavior style, they tend to be manipulating the other party. It's true that some I have some friends who are very good in negotiation, and they are like a red type of person, and they always tell me that in order to win a negotiation you have to manipulate the other party. Okay, in terms of this, different people have different perspective. Okay, ultimately what you want is to achieve your goal. Okay, so either you set out to have long-term partnerships or you set out to just get this one-off deal. Okay, there is nothing right or wrong in different types of style. Okay, it's just whether you can get your objective done or not. Can you obtain your objective? Okay, so this is a very subjective thing. And extreme blue person, the blue guy, will usually give away everything. Okay, so that he can build a relationship. So basically, you can say that the extreme blue person is like a yes man. So it's like, okay, I need a 20% discount. Okay, yes sir, I will give it to you. I need your deliveries to be within 1 week. Yes, I will do it for you. Everything will be yes. It's like a yes man. Okay, so that you don't offend the customer, you don't offend the other party, and you tend to always into everything that they demand. Okay, but ultimately the goal is just to build a relationship. So some of these are some of the negotiation styles that we always encounter. Some can be very opportunistic or assertive. Some guys can be more slow and steady. Okay, when they talk, they tend to talk very slow and very steadily. Some of the good habits that of good negotiator. So they will ask very direct questions. They don't beat about the bush. Okay, some of them are very clear cut. They know what they want. So every single thing comes with a price. So they put a price on each demand. If you want certain things, okay, then this is going to be the price. You want to have a for example, an optional module. You want to have an optional accessory. Okay, this is the price. So usually you end up paying for free things. There isn't any thing that is really free in the world. So it's just a matter of time. When are you going to pay for it in future? So people tend to be more cooperative when they are good negotiator, and they know how to identify motives, what the other party is thinking, and they can know, especially they know how to read buying signs. That is very, very important, because you don't know whether you have been taken in for a ride, or whether that particular customer or the other party is genuine and sincere in the deal. Next, we talk about negotiation climate. So in this down here, we have 4 boxes. Okay, so the first one is a win-win situation. So the outcome provides mutual benefits for both parties. So you and the other party set up, to win. So not at the expense of the other party. So both of you win. Okay, win-win. And then you have the win-lose. Okay, so both parties intend on getting what they want. Okay, at the expense of the other party. It's like, for example, I don't care about you. I just want to get what I want. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about whether you meet your objective. So that is win-lose. Lose-win is a bit different. Okay, lose-win is more like I am going to sacrifice. I'm going to give away everything. So it's just like the extreme blue type of person that we see in the earlier slide. So one party will sacrifice to the needs of the other, more for a strategic reason. It can be like building long-term relationships, or it can be like, for example, if I'm a newbie, okay, I just graduated from high school, and then I just joined the sales workforce, and then basically I negotiate with the owner of the company, or let's say a director. So I'm afraid to offend him. So that's why basically I will give in everything to him. Okay, that's lose-win. It's different. Okay, win-lose and lose-win. There's a difference. Lose-lose, that means you can never continue the negotiation. Okay, both parties will walk away. Okay, it's very confrontational. It can be aggressive and not flexible at all. Okay, there is no room for negotiation, and basically both parties walk away, no deal. So it's important for us to always understand the customer needs, and we always say that we have to meet the customer needs. So what do we mean by meeting the customer needs? So first of all, in order to meet the customer needs, we need to understand those needs. So first, understanding the customer, okay? What type of customer you are dealing with, okay? What type of business they are in. Okay, what are they trying to achieve? What's their KPI? What's their objective? Why are they even negotiating with you? Okay, what are their capabilities? Like, for example, the person that you're negotiating with may be a procurement manager. He can be maybe a sales manager, or even, let's say, the business owner. And what kind of capability do they possess? Very important. Very important. Sorry, someone just mute. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, so how will success look like? Okay, this is very important. You have to always ask yourself, if you are able to successfully negotiate on this deal and you are able to get this contract. So how will success look like? Okay, what are their pain points? Very common thing. Okay, every one of us know about this thing. You have to always seek the pain points of the customer. How are decisions made? Okay, who are the decisions maker, or even the influencer? Who can influence the outcome, and who actually decide the outcome? When do they need it? Okay, basically these are the questions that will lead to maybe deliveries. So when do they need it? What have they used in the past? So this question is more relating to competition. So it gives you a more information and insights about your competition, about competitors. How do they purchase? Okay, the buying patterns and the buying methods. Okay, and possibly more others. So we talk about those, understand those needs, and how can we meet those needs? Okay, first we have to understand the opportunity or the project. So gaining information about the project. Diagnose the pain and prescribe the cure. So basically, you can't even go into a proper negotiation if you doesn't have the correct prescription. Okay, if you don't have the solution to solve the customer's problem, basically you cannot even go into a good and proper negotiation, and that will basically lead to a lot of bluff and lies. Okay, because your product or your solution can never, solve the customer's problems. So you will try by all ways and means to even, lie or bluff the customer, believing that whatever you offer can really help them to solve their problems. So it's very important. Diagnose the pain, prescribe the cure. For the buyer, you need to understand that whoever offer you the product or solution, can their products and solution really help to solve your problem? Okay, being a problem solver, provide a solution, be open and honest. Okay, sometimes your product can maybe solve 80% or 90% of the problem that the buyer is facing. Okay, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your product is not good or your solution is not good. It's just that you cannot be 100% catered to the needs of the customer. But sometimes this is where you need to be open and honest with the other party. Let them know your limitations, and then perhaps they can also give some leeway on those limitations. Be innovative. Okay, make it easy. So simplicity is the key. Provide the right resources. So in terms of any types of resources that you can possibly give to your customers, okay, or to the other party. For example, a technical support, or even a dedicated account manager just to solve their to be in charge of their account. Okay, be the first. Be the first to always go back to the customer with your solution. Okay, you don't have to wait until your competitor comes in, and then basically you will never get a second chance to negotiate. Okay, so be first. Prompt and proactive. So usually according to statistics, in order to win a deal, each of us have to have a minimum of 5 follow-ups. So in a way that we cannot expect that we send a quotation to a customer and then we just wait for things to happen, or we just wait for the customer to give us a purchase order. So that will never work. Okay, unless you are the only one in the market that have this product or this solution. Or for example, maybe perhaps your product is the cheapest. Okay. So be very prompt and active, and then always go back to the customer to follow up, okay, on your quotations. And then possibly there are a lot of other things that we can do in order to meet those needs. So for a customer, okay, usually these are the 5 key decisions that they will make before they come to a conclusion to buy your product or your solution. Okay, so the first one is the needs. It's very important. So, and whether do you have the solution? Okay, do you have the solution, or do you have the product to solve the problem, to cater to the needs of this customer? Okay, the salesperson or the company is important. For example, this company may not be very established. It's a newly set up company. So sometimes the buyer may not have a full 100% trust on this company, or or even with this salesperson. Sometimes the salesperson may be a new graduate, okay, without any experience. He don't know how to handle situations. He don't know how to. He's not very good in solving problems. So that's why the customer don't really want to deal with them. Okay, so it's about credibility as well as trust. Okay, so track record is very important to some buyers. So the salesperson, the company, and of course we talk about the price. Not always the lowest price will win. It's not always the cheapest price will win. Okay, we'll always talk about the value for money, and then the timing. Okay, the timing of purchase or the timing of the negotiation process is extremely important. You will never want to buy, when you don't need it at all, or sometimes you just need it tomorrow. Okay, and then you basically need to put in a purchase order by today so that the supplier can deliver it to you by tomorrow. Okay, so sometimes it's about the timing of purchase, the timing of a lot of let's say deliveries. So before we make a decision to proceed, okay, we need to tick all the boxes. So we talk about the customer needs, okay, understanding their needs and how to meet their needs. And then next we have to talk about more on behaviors and the style of the other party that we are going to negotiate with. So it comes down to this DISC. So the DISC is actually a behavior assessment tool, okay, by a psychologist, William Moulton Marston. Okay, he came up with this DISC. So basically, what is it? So this is a behavior of four different types of behavior of a person. Okay, so the D, or sometimes we call it the green color. Okay, it's more like a controller type. Okay, it likes to be likes to control and direct things. D stands for dominance. Okay, and usually the people in D, they will tend to see the big picture. Okay, they can be a bit blunt at times, and they like to accept challenges. They like challenges, and they most of the time they go straight to the point. Okay, they don't beat about the bush. Whereas the I is influence. Okay, so the I guy usually shows a lot of enthusiasm, and they are extremely optimistic. They like to go into a collaboration, and usually the I people, they don't like to be ignored. Okay, I won't really say that they are attention seeker, but they like to be, they don't like to be ignored. The S, or the blue person, S is a steadiness. Okay, and a steadiness, this type of the person in this category, they don't like to be rushed. Okay, they are more calm and steady. Then they provide supportive actions to you. Okay, C stands for concessiousness. So the C type of person, right? Usually they are more independent. Okay, they like independence. They also like to have objective reasoning sometimes, and most of the time they are the people who wants a lot of details. Okay, they deep dive into details of things, and they are afraid of being wrong. Okay, so they always make sure that they have a lot of details, and they are more analytical so that they don't make the wrong decisions. So if you are the D and the I type of person, you are more like the extrovert type, confident, loud, okay, more assertive. Whereas the C and S, okay, they are more quiet, the shy introvert, okay, to be in short. And the I and the S category, okay, people who are more I and S, they are more focused and more open. And lastly, the D and the C, they are more task oriented, and they are more formal in terms when talking to you or whatever they do. They tend to be very formal. They don't like informal things. So basically, this is a good tool that will help us to understand the other party, the one that we are going to negotiate with. How is their what are their behaviors like? Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that a person can be 100% D or I, or 100% S. It can be a mixture, and depending, some can be 70% D, and maybe 10% I, 10% S, and 10% C. It can be. And good negotiators, or people who are experienced, you can always change your behavior according to the situation. So like, for example, maybe you are a high D guy, but when it comes to a negotiation, you may become purposely trying to be a high I guy. Okay, so you become like a chameleon. You can change accordingly to situations. So when we talk about negotiation, okay, we always talk about this BETNA, okay, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Okay, so this BETNA is in fact is the next best or advantageous alternative that you can get before you walk away. So for BETNA, we need to seek clarity. So to bring or add value, okay, or we can actually, in fact, sometimes if you come to a stalemate in a negotiation, you can actually bring in, or add another negotiator. You can get your colleague along, or your superiors who is actually much better in negotiation into the process, okay, to negotiate with your customer. And then, of course, at the very beginning, in fact, when you go into a negotiation, you need to clarify your negotiating counterpart's authority. You may not want to talk a lot, but end up that is not the right guy to talk to. He may not be a decision maker, okay, or he's not complete. He's maybe completely not involved in the whole process. So you have to know who you are talking to, and this webinar will help you to understand when you have to walk away if you cannot strike a deal. Okay, next common thing, we talk about the ZOPA, which is the zone of possible agreement. So like this from this chart you can see that the seller's lowest price is 120,000. Okay, that means you are, as a seller, you are willing to sell at 120K. That is the lowest price. And then the buyer is going to buy the highest price that they will buy your product is 140K. So between 120K to 140K, okay, so this is actually your zone of possible agreement. This is actually your ZOPA. Okay, somewhere in between this 120K and 140K. This is where you can strike a deal or you can negotiate on. So for instance, if let's say now we are going to change the positions of the seller and the buyer. So what will happen? Okay, something like that. So now as a seller, I will only sell my product. The lowest price I will sell is 140K. But my customer, okay, the highest price that they are going to buy, that he's willing to pay is only 120K. So in this kind of instance, you can never have a ZOPA. Okay? It doesn't exist at all because it doesn't overlap between the buyer and the seller's expectation. So if you go into this kind of situation, basically it will be no negotiation at all. Okay, so this ZOPA will actually help us to identify. Sometimes you can have a broad ZOPA. For example, 120K to 140K. The ZOPA is a 20K of difference. So depending on expectations, sometimes it can be a broad ZOPA. Sometimes it can be a very extremely small ZOPA. So, whenever you need to start a negotiation, always ask questions and understand each other's ZOPA. Okay, that means not only for you, but also for your customer. You need to understand his ZOPA and he needs to understand your ZOPA. If let's say, for example, we have a broad ZOPA, okay, both parties, usually what they will do is they will use strategies or tactics, okay, to influence the distribution within the ZOPA. Like for example, I'm willing to sell, the lowest price is 120,000. The customer wants 140,000. So as much as possible, I try to sell at 140,000 so that I get most of the distribution of the ZOPA. But your customer will always want to buy at 120,000. Okay, they try to get the best out of the deal. Okay, so you will then go into using a lot of tactics and strategies, okay, to make the ZOPA become towards more on your favor. Whereas if let's say the ZOPA is an extremely small zone, okay, very small ZOPA, then both parties will find difficulty, okay, in finding agreement to the terms. So if let's say, for example, just now we talk about this, that if there's no overlap of the ZOPA, that means this is a negative bargain zone, okay? There's no overlap. And so most probably, both parties will end up walking away. Or in fact, they should walk away because the other party will never meet your demands. Okay, so unless you can have more new values, okay, like for example, I'm willing to sell at my highest price is 140,000. That is the lowest price that I will sell. But the customer doesn't want 140K. The customer wants 120K. So what I can do is, like for example, okay, I have some very maybe old products in my warehouse, for example, okay, they have not been used at all, but it's in my warehouse for around maybe 5 years, okay, and I've actually expanded them. I have written them off. So if you want, okay, I can give it to you. So maybe perhaps the customer will think, okay, nothing harmful, and in fact I need those products. and this the seller is going to offer me free of charge. Okay, why not? I will take it. So I will buy your products at 140,000. Okay, but you know, you give me all those obsolete products or those 5 years products in a warehouse for 5 years, give it to me free of charge. Okay, so sometimes when you go into a negative bargain zone, then either you walk away or you have to add more value added elements into your negotiation process so that you can continue on your negotiations. So now here I have a short video to share with everyone. Okay, this is about a guy, okay, that goes to that makes some mistake, okay, on when he approached a procurement manager. So let me share this video. So guys, just turn on your volume of the video, okay, so that you can hear.
Yes, as you know, there's no way we're going to negotiate at that price. But look, if he doesn't want to give us the usual discounts, I don't want to see him. Yeah. Well, you think so? Well, I can't afford to waste time. So let's make things clear. There are other suppliers on the market, okay? Bye, nice talking to you. See you soon. Bye.
Hello, Mr. Brown. I came as soon as I heard that you wanted to review the terms of our agreement.
Well, Orlando, yes, I wanted to look over the different points of our reference agreement. My management has set me some new goals in terms of costs, and I won't be able to reach them without your help.
Okay, Mr. Brown, but let me remind you that last time we talked, you got a significant discount. Today, I'm offering you an even better product.
The discount was not as significant as all that, Mr. Lando. At the time, you proposed me 5%, but you have to be aware of the fact that I've been proposed 10% by one of your competitors.
All right, then, let's get it clear. I'm not one to beat about the bush. What sort of discount are you hoping for?
Well, seeing the goals that my management has set me, I want a 12% discount.
That's impossible. You asked me for more than double what you got last year without committing yourself to minimum volume. Come on, Mr. Brown, you're not serious.
Oh, I can't be more serious, Sammy. You see, we have very ambitious goals for this year, and I really wish to associate all my suppliers in that. I mean, those who want to carry on being our partners in development in the coming years.
You know that we want to be among your partners, but not at any price. We cannot possibly accept 12%. Well, we were at 5% last year.
But your competitors are at 12%. You cannot decently propose less than them this year.
Mr. Brown, you must understand that I cannot go from 5 to 12%. That's a huge difference. My management has its goals too. Listen, I'll meet you halfway. Let's agree on an 8.5%.
I told you, Mr. Lando, this is not enough. 10% is an absolute minimum for this year. I mean, it's only 1.5%. More I'm asking you, it's nothing.
You seem to be forgetting that we had to cope with the prices of copper going up continuously over the last few months. And there is no sign of the rise slowing down.
Don't think that I'm not well informed, Mr. Lando. I follow the evolution of the copper prices as well as the exchange rates. It's true that the prices of the copper in dollars have gone up, but I have it on reliable authority that a large share of your purchasing is done in euros, and the euro hasn't stopped climbing against the dollar. Moreover, I read in an economics article recently that the gains of productivity in your sector have been quite consequent. Maybe it's time for you to share the benefits with your customers.
Mr. Brown, I really want to find a balanced agreement between you and I.
Precisely. I'm asking you to make an effort given my share in your turnover. And by the way, I've been speaking with purchasing colleagues in companies around the country, and they speak more and more about doing it without your products because you really are rather expensive, very expensive, in fact. And up till now, I've been defending you, but it seems like I've been quite naive given your proposals, Mr. Lando.
I know that you're a loyal customer, Mr. Brown. I really want to give you full satisfaction. Maybe we could move on and have a look to the other aspects of the deal.
It is out of the question. I want a clear answer on the price. Will you give me that discount or not?
Well, I would like to give you those 10%, but that will depend on the additional volume of order you will be able to give us this year.
Fine. Well, for these 10%, I'm willing to increase my purchasing by 10% in volume.
Well, I think we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Fine. And of course, the overall discount will be of 15%, meaning these 10% plus the usual 5% as a reward for my fidelity to your products.
Okay, but in that case, I would like you to provide us better terms of payments. The current terms are too expensive for us.
Listen, if you're willing to make concessions, I'll make them too. Right now, you're being paid at 60 days net, if I recall well. What would you like?
I'd like us to be paid 30 days net. I think that the least you can do in return to my efforts.
You really are demanding, Mr. Lando. I am not a chief finance officer. I am a purchasing manager. I believe I can have finance pay you 30 days, end of the month, payment on the 10th following, but I wouldn't be able to go any further without putting into question our commercial agreement.
Okay, I'll go that way. But concerning our new product range, we have a policy of 30% down payments on order.
I'm sorry, but I can't accept that. I'm not entitled to make deposits on order. It's against my company's financial policy.
I'll explain that to my management.
Right, I can see that we've agreed on almost everything. Let's come back to the question of volume. If we order more than the contractual volume, I want a 3% off, and then we'll sign.
This is going too far, Mr. Brown. I have goals to meet too.
Come on, 3% is nothing, given all the potential we have, Mr. Lando.
Well, I have a proposition. Put us 3% off. Give me full exclusivity for your purchasing.
Right. So we've agreed on the 3%. In terms of exclusivity, I don't have free hands on that, but be sure that I will plead your case to my management. Right. There's just one last thing I would like to see. Yes, I see that you invoice delivery and installation separately, although your competitors have an all-inclusive policy. I hope that in the next time you will adopt that policy too, Mr. Lando.
This is not possible. It's not up to me.
Well, then ask your management then, and we will reschedule this meeting. But be well aware of the fact that every single point of our agreement will have to be rediscussed.
So everyone can see the video. So this video is just one key thing is that you can see that the procurement manager, okay, the guy that is older, he comes very well prepared, for this negotiation. He knows exactly what he wants, and he's a very tough guy to negotiate with. If let's say, for this salesperson, it doesn't seem like he's very well prepared for this negotiation. Okay, so let's do some debrief part by part on this video. So what are some of the mistakes that this salesman had done? So I'm going to play the first video, a short one, okay, the extract, and then we'll see what are the things that he have not done well, the salesman.
The discount was not as significant as all that, Mr. Lando. At the time, you proposed me 5%, but you have to be aware of the fact that I've been proposed 10% by one of your competitors.
All right, then, let's get it clear. I'm not one to beat about the bush. What sort of discount are you hoping for?
Well, seeing the goals that my management has set me, I want a 12% discount.
So down here you can see that the salesman actually gave a 5% discount, and then straight away the procurement manager mentioned that his competitor is actually giving 10% discount. So what happened was that the salesman, very quickly he goes into the pricing issue, okay, the discount issue. He went into it too quickly. So he asked the procurement manager, okay, so what is the discount that you're looking at? And then the procurement manager said 12%. So this is one bad thing that he had done. He just go into the discount straight away, okay? He doesn't argue the case, okay, about his product or his solutions, okay? He doesn't mention what are the things or benefits that his product or solution can bring to his customer, okay? And that will actually basically help to justify his price. And of course, he doesn't highlight the things that set him apart from the competition. He doesn't mention anything about the competition. So when the procurement manager was saying that, your competitor give a 10% discount, but he doesn't even ask questions like, what kind of products are they offering you? Maybe they are offering you a very basic product or basic model that, doesn't really 100% or even cater to your needs, and it doesn't solve your problem, okay? So that is the thing bad about the salesman, what he had done. Okay, next, let's go to the second video.
Mr. Brown, you must understand that I cannot go from 5 to 12%. That's a huge difference. My management has its goals too. Listen, I'll meet you halfway. Let's agree on an 8.5%.
So down here, the salesman, he mentioned that, it's impossible for him to give from a 5% discount all the way up to 10% discount. So it's double what the customer is asking for. But very fast and straight away, he said he saw that, the behavior or the expression of the procurement manager, that he was actually quite angry, and he doesn't want to talk to the salesman. So upon looking or observing that particular expression on the face of the procurement manager, the salesman quickly, say, okay, why not? Let's meet halfway. Okay. So it's very, very fast. Okay, straight away from a 5% discount, he goes into 8% discount. Okay, let's say a halfway. And then at this point of time, the customer, okay, or the procurement manager had not given him anything in return yet. Okay. So basically the salesman is giving away everything, a lot of things. Okay. He has been giving without asking for anything in return. Okay, let's look at the third video.
I told you, Mr. Lando, this is not enough. 10% is an absolute minimum for this year. I mean, it's only 1.5% more I'm asking you. It's nothing.
You seem to be forgetting that we had to cope with the prices of copper going up continuously over the last few months. There is no sign of the rise slowing down.
So down here you can see that actually the salesman, he actually underestimates, okay, the true value or the true change in the discount. Okay, from, let's say, for example, 5% going to 10%. So it's to him it's like a 7 point from let's say 1.5% discount. Okay, to him the perception is a 1.5% discount. Okay, but actually it's 5% from, because it's coming from 5% to 10%. Okay, so he misunderstand it, and he underestimate the true change in the discount value.
I know that you're a loyal customer, Mr. Brown. I really want to give you full satisfaction. Maybe we could move on and have a look to the other aspects of the deal.
It is out of the question. I want a clear answer on the price. Will you give me that discount or not?
Well, I would like to give you those 10%, but that will depend of the additional volume of order you will be able to give us this year.
Fine. Well, for these 10%, I'm willing to increase my purchasing by 10% in volume.
Well, I think we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Fine. And of course, the overall discount will be of 15%, meaning these 10% plus the usual 5% as a reward for my fidelity to your products.
So that volume. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So that this salesman, what he has done is that he asked for increase in volume. So that increase in volume is only a 10%. It's not enough to justify for that 10% of discount. Okay, so he maybe perhaps he doesn't know how to do the basic calculation for, let's say, a 10% discount. Okay, how much of volume you need to increase. Okay, he does not manage to regain control of the negotiation. He has lost the plot. And basically, the procurement manager is leading the discussion right now. It's not him. Okay, and then ultimately, the procurement manager said that because of his fidelity to his company, so he wants another 5% discount. Or in fact, initially the salesman gave a 5% discount. So now he asked for the procurement manager asked for a 10% discount. So he wanted that 10% on top of that 5%. So now the discount has moved to 15%. So it's not 10% only. So this is why we always say that we need to seek clarity and summarize every point that we've made. So it may be a misunderstanding, or it may be a trick of the procurement manager.
I'd like us to be paid 30 days net. I think that the least you can do in return to my efforts.
You really are demanding, Mr. Lando. I am not a chief finance officer. I am a purchasing manager. I believe I can have finance pay you 30 days, end of the month, payment on the 10th following, but I wouldn't be able to go any further without putting into question our commercial agreement.
Okay, I'll go that way. But concerning our new product range, we have a policy of 30% down payments on order.
I'm sorry, but I can't accept that. I'm not entitled to make deposits on order. It's against my company's financial policy.
I'll explain that to my management.
So down here, the salesman actually he managed down the payment terms. He asked for earlier settlement from the procurement manager, but in fact, the procurement manager was saying that 30 days, but payment on the 10th the following month. So it's actually more than 30 days. Okay, so the salesman down here he misunderstood it again. Okay, so actually he doesn't know what it means by payment on the 10th the following month, perhaps. Okay, and then he was asking for a down payment, a 30% deposit, but he did it too slow, okay, at too late a time. So he should have actually asked for this much earlier instead of going all the way to the end, and then he asked for this 30% deposit. And moreover, this procurement manager cannot give him a confirmation that they'll be able to give the 30% deposit. Okay, so there's no firm agreement from the procurement manager.
Come on, 3% is nothing given all the potential we have, Mr. Lando.
Well, I have a proposition.
Mm-hmm.
Put us 3%.
We've agreed on a 3%. In terms of exclusivity, I don't have free hands on that, but be sure that I will plead your case to my management.
Down here you can see that this procurement manager asked for a further 3% discount, and the salesman basically he asked for full exclusivity. So that means to say that he doesn't want his competitors to penetrate, doesn't want this company, his customer, to use any of his competitors' product. Okay, but you can see that the procurement manager doesn't give him a firm answer whether he can do it or not, and basically he did one thing good about this procurement manager. He mentioned that, so we agreed on that 3%. Okay, so he re-emphasized that point to the salesman. Okay, so the salesman, he actually gave this 3% discount, without having any firm commitment from the procurement manager. Okay, so this particular video show us what are some of the mistakes that this salesman or this seller had made. So next we come to the steps to negotiation. So basically in a negotiation, there are 5 key steps. Okay. So the first one is the negotiation strategy. How are you going to strategize and prepare for your negotiation? Okay. Number 2, prepare your concessions. Okay, be prepared on the list of concessions that you are willing to give to the customer. Number 3, your negotiation argument, because during negotiation you will encounter feedbacks from the customer, and of course not to ask you to really force your way to argue with the customer, and then it ends up becoming a debate, but rather what are some of the points that maybe you don't agree with your customer, and then you have to really make your stand on it. Why your customer, maybe they have misunderstood, okay, what you are trying to offer. So your negotiation argument. Point number 4, okay, help the customer to make a decision. Most of the time we negotiate, but we fail to help the customer to make a decision, because we have to understand that there will be a lot of suppliers going to the customer. So you're not the only one and only vendor. So there are a lot of people, your competitors, also going to these customers, and basically sometimes they may get confused with different types of offers and different types of pricing structures as well. Okay, so you have to help them to make a decision. And the last step is to listen and formulate, because most of the time your customers will give you feedbacks on what you have offered, and they'll come back with suggestions and feedback, and that's where you have to listen very carefully to their feedback, and then you have to reformulate, okay, your strategy. So how do we do it? So for step number 1, okay, you have to tell yourself, I prepare my negotiation strategy before I go and negotiate with the customer. Okay. Number 2, I will always be prepared, to deal with a request for concession, because this actually happens 100% of the time. The customer will ask you for some concessions. So you have to prepare what you are willing to give or what you are not willing to give at all, non-negotiable. Okay. Number 3, you plan your negotiation argument so that you'll not be forced into a corner. So imagine if the customer is going to ask you 10 questions and you cannot even answer one of them, then it looks very bad on you. Okay, and you cannot basically, it's like suddenly you have agreed to the customer that your products or your solution cannot help them at all. It's already worthless. Okay, it doesn't have any value at all. Number 4, you have the customer to make a decision, okay, by asking questions, and then practice active listening and reformulate. So step number 1, how to prepare your negotiation strategy. Okay, first you need to set your priorities. Okay, set out your goals and your objectives. Okay, very important of your priorities. You set an ambitious goal. So before going, what do you want to achieve? after the negotiation. Okay, set yourself an ambitious goal. Okay, define what is and isn't negotiable. There are certain things that it can be negotiated, but there are certain things that you cannot even negotiate at all. Maybe perhaps it's because of what we call internal rules. Okay, like due to company policy, you can never do that. Okay, that's a breach of company policies, so you can't do that. And then what is the power status? So in a way whereby, who are you talking to? The other party. Is he a decision maker or not? And at the same time also, does he have is he holding on to the power of negotiation? So is he the one leading the negotiation? Okay, that is very important. Then next we come to this negotiation situation. So on the left hand side, you can see is the importance of the relationship, and then down here is the importance of the outcome. So, for example, this for this example, okay, if let's say you don't really care about the relationship with the customer, and vice versa, the customer doesn't value the relationship with you. So both of you just seek, or you yourself seek to just obtain your objective after the negotiation. So you will tend to compete very firmly. Okay, you just want to get your objective done, get your goals, what you set out to do, what you set out to achieve. You just want that outcome. Okay, so you will compete very firmly. So if let's say you care about the relationship, and then at the same time that you want to seek a win-win situation. Okay, you want to get what you want. Okay, similarly for your customer, then both of you will collaborate trustingly. Okay, if both of you don't care about the relationship and you don't even care about the outcome, it's because maybe your customer will think that I can buy from your competitor, it's okay, I don't need you at all. Okay, you are not the only supplier. And then maybe you yourself, you may have the thinking that you are not the only customer. Okay, I have lots and tons of customers out there. So losing you as a customer doesn't affect me at all, doesn't affect my KPI. So what will happen is that both of you will avoid negotiating. Okay, you don't even want to talk any further. So you just walk away and the customer will just walk away. Okay. Open accommodation. So this is more like what we say the extreme blue guy. You will give away and sacrifice a lot of things, just for some strategic reasons. So the relationship is extremely important to you, but you don't really care about the outcome. Okay, so it's like, for example, you can give even 10, 20, 30% discount. You can give a lot of maybe free products, give it to a lot of requests from the customer. Okay, just in order to build a good relationship, okay, for some certain strategic reason. So this type of person will be more like an open accommodation, this kind of negotiation situation. So you prepare for your negotiation. So how do we prepare for negotiation? So you have the table. So down here you will ask yourself, what do I hope to achieve from this negotiation? So at the same time also about your customer. So what does the customer hope to achieve from this negotiation? So down here I put in an example. Like for example, I set out with an ambitious goal first. Okay, I want to close this 100K USD of sales, and I want a 25% margin. Okay, I want to conquer this customer. Okay, and then for the customer, he will say that I want to have at least 12.5% discount from this particular supplier. Okay, so you prepare this. The second preparation, the second question that you ask yourself is, what will happen? Okay, if we walk away, if I walk away from this negotiation. So down here is like example, I will not be able to achieve my first quarter target. I will lose this customer, and this customer is a potential of $500,000 per annum. And then for the customer, what will happen? For example, this customer is already using a brand A, and what he can do is he can continue to use brand A. But the issue is, maybe, for example, you have some information that brand A is going to increase their price. Okay, let's say in May. Okay, so this customer, what he can do is continue to use brand A, and then he will try to look for other suppliers. So you're one of the suppliers, but you walk away. So the customer now has to look for the second or the third and fourth supplier, and that may take another 2 months. Okay, and then Now, when you walk away, the customer is going to lose approximately, let's say 13%. Because let's say now you are offering a 10% discount, which is lower than brand A. And then, but brand A is going to increase their price, let's say next month by another 3%. So basically to the customer, he's risking a loss of that 13% discount, okay? Something like that. So how will we approach this negotiation? Okay, so we have to prepare ourselves. How are we going to approach it step by step? And what are the possibly concessions or things that we can give to the customer? Okay, so like for example, I'm going to talk to this procurement manager, but you know, I have to bring value of my product or my solution. So it's better to get their sales and technical director to be involved in the negotiation process. And then for example, you have the information from the production floor, okay, from one of the engineers that maybe 2 months ago, you gave them one sample for trial, and the product trial was extremely successful, okay? It can really give them the kind of performance that the customer is looking for. Okay, it's even better performance than brand A, for example, and it's cheaper, okay? So these are some of the information that you have gathered. And then this will be one of your key weapon, you know, during the negotiation process. So like for example, your product reliability, because you're giving away let's say a free 5 years warranty on your product. So if let's say your product is not reliable, why will you even give a 5 years warranty? Okay, and then brand A is going to increase the price 6 months by 3%, for example. You know this information, but why do they want to increase the price? Maybe because they are going to change the supplier of the raw material. So if the raw material is going to change, it may somehow or rather maybe affect the performance of the product. So that the brand A product may be even the performance may be even worse than before. Okay, it can be one possibility. You can offer something like, you know, giving this customer a free advertisement on your website, on your monthly newsletter. Okay, help them to do promotion. Okay, and then delivery lead time, maybe a free technical support for factory acceptance test and a site acceptance test, or maybe even overseas. Okay, some discounts and rebates. And then for the customer side, okay, the procurement manager will, you know that, okay, they will definitely want to discuss about the price, okay, and nothing else. And then maybe they will use some other brands, you know, to undermine you, to tell you how good they are and how cheap they are, okay? So sometimes it may resort to some bluff and lies, okay? And the customer may always insist on discount. That means the customer say, I don't want to talk about anything else. I don't want to know what values your product can bring. It's just a simple application, okay? I just want the discount. Don't talk to me about anything else. Just give me the price that I want. So they will force themselves to go into this kind of particular negotiation mode with you. Okay, refuse to talk to you sometimes because it may think that you are just like any other salesman, and instead they want authority. They want to talk to someone with authority, like just going directly to negotiate with the sales director or to the vice president. Okay, there are some situations like that. Okay, down here I made a simple calculation. Like for example, like what I put in the example, I want to strike 100K of sales with a 25% margin. So like for example, my cost price is 75,000. Okay, I'm selling it at 100,000. So basically, I have a 25K of absolute profit. Okay, 25,000. So now the customer wants a 12.5% discount. So meaning to say I have to sell at 87.5K, and my margin will decrease significantly, okay, by almost half to 14.29%. So basically, from 25,000 of profit, I will only make 12.5K of profit. So in order to do this for a 12.5% discount, I need to increase the volume by 2 times to make exactly the same 25,000 of profit. So now down here, we're talking about the gross margin. Okay, we are not even talking about the fixed costs and other variables. So what we can do is during my, let's say, a preparation, before I start negotiating with the customer, So what I will do is that, okay, once the customer asks for a 12.5% discount, or a discount that is more than 10%, I will try to meet somewhere, let's say halfway, or maybe I can go at a 8% discount, okay? But I will request for a increase in the volume by 2 times. So down here you can see that, the absolute value becomes 34,000. So, and your margin has improved from 14% to 18%. And then during the negotiation, the customer may be asking you for some concessions or certain things that they can do or cannot do, a lot of demands. And then that's where you give your first, let's say your first concession, okay? You give let's say a 3% rebate. So if you were to achieve 500,000 of sales by end of the year, okay? So it's a 3% not rebate. So it's not a discount that you give straight away. So the customer will still buy at this particular price that you offer, but at the end of the year, they will get this 3% rebate. So this 3% rebate will translate to about 15,000. But for example, that you are asking for a 500,000 of sales target. So basically, you set out to get 100K of sales, but now you have gone into a negotiation for 500,000. So basically, your volume increased by almost more than 5 times. Okay, so after some negotiation, maybe you give a second concession, you give a 2% rebate. Okay, if let's say the customer give the payment within 15 days, early settlement rebate. Okay, so that will be, let's say, paid out every following month, end of the following month. So that 2% rebate translates to a 10,000 of savings for the customer. Okay, so in total, you can see that with that 2% and 3% rebate, it translates to 25,000. So that is a pure 25,000 of savings to the customer. Okay, but for you, you have already gotten, for the salesman, you have already gotten full exclusivity. Okay, 500,000 from the customer, and basically you have made a gross margin of from 25,000 to almost 68,000. Okay, of the absolute gross margin. Okay, so this is just a very simple example, not necessary that this is the best one. You have to prepare your negotiation strategy according to circumstances and according to the terms and agreement of your contract with your customer. Okay, but what I'm trying to put down here is that you do not have to fear, okay, have to be afraid of negotiation with customers. Okay, don't be afraid. And usually when you enter into negotiation, you always have to get yourself prepared on what possibly you can do or what you cannot do, what is negotiable and what is not negotiable. So you see, after the whole negotiation process, basically now you have increased your volume by 5 times. You already get 100% market share from this customer. You have successfully got rid of your competitor. So there are a lot of issues that we face during negotiation, or there are a lot of terms that we can negotiate on with the customer. Okay, not necessarily just about the price, but a lot of other variables. So what are some of them? Some of the points that we can negotiate. Okay, for example, we always talk about the price. Okay, the terms of the contract. Okay, what are the needs of the customer? We have touched on that. Okay, the timing. We can talk about the quantity, so increase in volume. We can talk about services. So like, for example, in the video, the procurement manager was asking for maintenance service, 1 year of free maintenance service in the contract. So complementary services. Okay, extended warranty. For example, your product comes with a 1 year warranty, but when your customer sells for a project and together with a DLP, with a DLP period, let's say of 18 months or 2 years, basically they ask you for a 3-year warranty. Okay, so maybe perhaps you can give 1 + 2 year. Okay, you can give it as a free warranty or maybe with a small fee. Okay, status, expertise, and expansion. Okay, on the business, on the product basket. So even like for example, the customer may be buying a product A from you, but you offer them as a bundle together with a product B. Okay, total cost of ownership, the ROI. You can even do some calculations on the ROI and submit it to your customer. Okay, to let them see the difference if they are going to use your product or your solution. Okay, what other kind of support you can give it to them? Maybe some marketing support. Okay, the quality of a product. Okay, connectivity, deliveries, future opportunities. You can embark on long-term relationships, and what possibly you can do to help them in for future projects. Okay, the ease of use, simplicity. Okay, maybe for example, your product is easy to commission, something like that. Okay, so be creative on all these points that you can raise up during your negotiation. And just now we talked about the background. So basically, knowing your baseline, okay, when are you going to be prepared to walk away? Okay, so under what kind of circumstances will you walk away? So that will help us to understand what can be negotiated, and if let's say the negotiation process comes to a standstill, okay, then you have to walk away. Okay, there's no overlap of the ZOPA. It's a negative bargaining zone. Okay, so we can use the negotiation map. Okay, it's useful, and then you plan all your variables, all your points into this map. So what will be the ideal situation? Okay, and what will be the worst case scenario for you to walk away? Okay, from your customer. So if let's say some of the points, if they are not acceptable, okay, so then perhaps you have to revise the map again, okay, depending on the situation, or even after the first negotiation session, then you have to enter into the second negotiation. What is always certain about negotiation is that there will always be another negotiation session coming up after your first one, okay? So first step, okay, we talk about the negotiation strategy. So we have to know who will be negotiating with, okay, what are their interests, okay, whether is it a business and personal. So like for example, you even know what are their hobbies, like for example, the customer likes to play golf, like to play soccer or basketball. So then you can go into some certain topics of interest with the customer to make the whole negotiation process more light-hearted. Okay, not to make it too tense. So sometimes we can even crack some jokes, have some humor, during the negotiation, and not make it a very, very tense atmosphere. So what do they hope to achieve? Very important. Okay, what is the negotiating climate? We talked about that earlier. And what are their past experiences? So like what I say, it may be the guy is very well versed in procurement. He's a procurement manager, but he doesn't know anything technical. Okay, or the guy that you're talking to is a technical expert, and basically he doesn't come with a lot of commercial experience. So when do they need it, and how do they buy? Okay, so you have to put these questions into your preparation on your negotiation strategy. So there's this checklist. These are all the possible negotiating points before the meeting, and always classify them by the order of importance. Step number 2, okay, I'm prepared to deal with a concession. So first you have your checklist, the concession checklist, and then your concession strategy, okay, what you're going to do, like the example that I shown earlier. And then there is this concession matrix, which I'll show you later on, okay, here. So this matrix will help you to understand what are the things you can give away and how much they cost. So like for example, the first example, you give away a free sample, okay, and this sample costs, let's say $1,000. And then maybe the customer will say that, oh, it's not attractive enough, okay, and basically I need more. So maybe perhaps you can have some counter concessions again, adding some ranges to it, and this will basically help you in your sales growth. So these are the low costs to you. Second one is costly but acceptable, okay, the change in the quantity. So let's say the customer give you a bomb list, okay, a list of items, and then after that they want to change the quantity, and they ask you for the flexibility to do that. So maybe you will do that for them, but it costs you about $5,000. Okay, but this will basically help you, to increase your margin volume by $7,000 or 7%. Okay, and then some will be too costly and not acceptable. So you have to plug all these points, the concession, into these metrics and prepare them. Trade-off list, this is something similar to the concession. Different school of thought here. Some people mentioned that it's a little bit of difference between concession and trade-off. So some people think that trade-off is something that is positive, and concession is something that is a bit more like a negative. So it's like, for example, concession is like, give me 2% discount, or else I will look for your competitors. I will buy from your competitors. So some people think that this is concession. But whereas trade-off is like, for example, I will give you a 2% discount if you can increase your volume by 10%. So, but down here is more or less the same concession and trade-off list, but it's more on trade-off list. Down here you can put the priorities similarly with the concession metrics. Step number 3, you plan your negotiation argument so that you not be forced into a corner by the customer. Okay, so down here, what are your goals? So let's say you talk about the price. You set out to have a very ambitious objective that you want to increase your price by 10% to this existing customer. Okay, compared to last year, you want a 10% increase in price. And then you put a minimum. So minimum I can accept is 5% price increase. But your customer will tell you that, oh, 10% increase, come on, you're joking, man. It's too expensive. All your competitors are not even increasing price. They are decreasing their price. And why are you increasing your price? I cannot accept this. And then how are you going to argue back? So if you're not prepared and you don't know how to argue, make your arguments, okay, and then basically you will just remain silent. And the customer will say that, oh, you see, even competitors' products are better than you, and they're even cheaper than you. So why would I even want to consider using your brand? Okay, so don't be forced into a corner by the customer. So I help the customer to come to a decision. Okay, because I mentioned that there are a lot of offers on the table for the customer or for the buyer. Okay, from different price structures, different types of offers. Some people may be giving free samples, free products, free services, this and that. So it makes the customer or the buyers confused at times. So we need to help them to come to a conclusion, to make a buying decision. Okay, so closing is the last step in negotiation. It's very important. Like I mentioned, if we can talk whole day long, but if you don't close the deal, you don't get the purchase order, everything will be going down to the drain. Okay, don't wait too long to close. Be the first. Be proactive and be very prompt. Because if you are going to wait for 1 month or months to get back to the customer or get back to the buyer, most probably you will never have the chance again. Okay, the customer will never call you again, or there will never be another negotiation session. Okay, because basically your customer had already purchased from your competitors. So don't wait too long to close the deal. Use questions and objections are buying signals. So if let's say your customer or the buyer doesn't ask you any questions, that means basically they're not even interested or they don't need it at all at this point of time. So if they give you feedback, okay, about your offers or about your products, so these are already buying signs. Don't take their objections or their negative feedback negatively. So these are actually positive signs for you that they are really interested to buy from you. Okay, get questions, use questions to get commitments. Okay, like for example, if I can give you this 2% discount, so do you agree that you will give me in return a 10% increase in the volume? Okay, so always review point by point and summarize them and get the confirmation from the customer. Be it it's best to get it written down in black and white. Okay, state them in the contract. And the last step is to practice active listening and reformulate. Okay, so use the feedback of the customer, and then after that, using the feedback and reformulate about reformulate your negotiation strategies. And most importantly, always practice. So most of the times, some salesmen, they will think that negotiation is a very tough process and it's a very tough task to do. Okay, sometimes you meet very nasty buyers or very demanding buyers. But basically, it's because they also want to meet their objectives, meet their KPIs, and trying to do more for their company. So there's nothing wrong in them doing that. So it's all more about striking a balance between both parties, between you and the buyer, and always practice going to different types of customers, different types of buyers, and then you get different types of behaviors and also experience different types of situations of negotiation. So next I have a negotiation video similarly, but these are some of the good practices that the salesman did. Okay, so let me share with you.
No, there is no way we're going to negotiate at that price. Look, if he doesn't want to give us the usual discount, I refuse to see him. Is that right? Well, look, I cannot afford to waste time. And be well aware of the fact that there are other suppliers on the market, okay? Nice speaking with you. Bye.
Well, Mr. Brown, I saw that Mr. Dupont, your technical director, was supposed to be joining us. That's what he told me anyway.
Hello, Lando. Mr. Dupont had some urgent business to attend to, but I think we can still go over the main points of our agreement, as we've already discussed the technical details last time Mr. Dupont and myself saw you at our last meeting. So I wanted to review our reference agreement. My management has set me some new goals in terms of costs, and I won't be able to reach them without your help.
Okay, Mr. Brown, but let me remind you that last time we talked, you got a significant discount. Today, I'm offering you a better quality product, as I explained you last time.
That discount was not as substantial as all that, Mr. Lando. Last time you offered me a 5%, but I think you should know that I got a 10% with one of your competitors.
I would be quite happy to discuss that, but first, I'd like us to go over the other important points that are outstanding, so we can close the deal.
Given the goals my management set me, you have to know that the price will be the main element of this discussion. So will you give me a discount or not?
Well, if you put me up against the wall like that without taking any time to discuss the other points of the offer, I'm afraid I won't be able to agree.
The key element today will be the price, Mr. Lando. So let's talk about the price, and then we'll see the other elements.
Mark, you know that the true end price you're going to be paying incorporates all the elements of the negotiation. Unlike some of our competitors, with us everything is clear. There is no such things as free services. Why? Because the customer always ends up to be paying what is free.
Perhaps. Nonetheless, you are expensive, Mr. Lando. Far too expensive for us this year. And as I told you, we have very ambitious goals.
Yes, and I'm telling you that I sincerely wish to work with you toward achieving your goals by supplying you with the best products and the best services. Our product will create value for you. You can be sure of that, because it's excellent products. So now, I'd like us to check if we're agreed on everything. Then we can come back to your main concern. But I can guarantee you that you will see things differently.
Okay, well, as well as the price, I would like to talk about your delivery practice. The batch sizes is not right for us. The delivery time is far too long. And in terms of maintenance contract, I would like you to take a leaf out your competitor's book and give us a 1-year free maintenance.
So to summarize, as far as you are concerned, before we can close the deal, there are 3 points that need dealing with. Well, if I can give you clear answers on each one of those points, can we sign today?
You can see things that way, but be sure that you're not the only ones on the market.
Of course. I sincerely believe that our offer is the best. Don't forget that Schneider Brick Solutions are much more than merely a set of products.
Okay, fine. So what can you offer to me?
As far as the batch size go, you realize that it depends on our logistic structure. To change the batch size will inevitably be more expensive.
That's your problem. I give you an optimum size for the reception so that we can optimize our internal flows.
I'd be happy to agree to that, Mr. Brown, and make this effort for you. But in that case, I would like you to commit to an increase in your volume of orders. I've done some calculations. If you can increase your orders with us by just 10%, we're going to be able to deliver you just as you wish.
10%? 10%? Well, you've got a cheek. I say 4%.
That's not possible. Well, listen, I'll meet you halfway. Let's agree on a 7% increase, and you can tell your logistics manager that you will be getting the batches of the right size.
Okay, but I want your delivery times to be halved.
Right, so we're agreed on the first point. We'll deliver you your preferred batch sizes, and in return, you'll commit yourself firmly to ordering 7% more volume from us.
Okay, but I want your delivery times to be improved.
Right, so that's 1 point agreed. We have agreed on batch sizes and an increase in order volumes. Well, delivery times are a little more complicated because, as you know, we work on a just-in-time basis. So we don't have much room for maneuver in that area unless we let you queue jump on the customer.
What are you waiting for? I'm a good customer, am I not?
Yes, that's true. And I really want to do my best to give you full satisfaction. So would you be willing to agree to my request for a deposit payment? You know, it's an important point for us because we advance money on each order. Then it will be easier for me to get your 25% reduction on delivery times. I couldn't reasonably suggest better.
I'm sorry, but I can't accept that. I am not entitled to pay deposits for orders. This is against our policy.
As it is against our policy to change delivery times for current references. I think if there is a bit effort on both sides, we can make a progress on that point.
You still haven't said anything about the overall discount.
Listen, Mr. Brown, let's deal with the point in the hand, and then we can go on the other aspects. I need to be very clear on whether you're going to help me to reduce your delivery times in return for nothing more than a deposit payment for each order.
Okay, I need quick deliveries. I'll do everything I can to get you a deposit.
So we are agreed. We cut our delivery times by 25%, in return to which you agree to pay us a deposit on each order. If you're okay with that, we can put it in writing.
You still haven't said anything about the price.
I'm getting there, Mr. Brown. Unfortunately, I cannot give you the discount because, as I think I showed you during the last meeting, I'm going to be delivering you a product of even better quality, better than our previous product, and better than that of our competitors.
I want that discount, Mr. Brown. That's a condition to work with us.
And as I told you, I'm keen to carry on working with you, but not at a price that won't enable me to give you full satisfaction. Everything has a price, Mr. Brown, as you know, whether it is service or innovation. I can make you this offer. We keep the existing level of discounts for the volume traded at the moment. And I'm willing to give you 2 additional discount points for any increase in order of over 10%.
Okay. We'll sign this contract, Mr. Lando. You'll drive a hard bargain, but you can be sure that I will watch closely that you abide by all the terms of the contract.
Thank you for your confidence, Mr. Brown. For my part, I'm committed to keeping our contract.
Yeah, so down here we can see that both these the salesman is very confident and he's very well prepared going into the negotiation. And similarly, the procurement manager is still a tough nut to crack. It's not a very easygoing guy, but he's still talking about the terms and conditions. He's focusing on the terms of the negotiation of the agreement, okay, of the contract. So it's still negotiable, but at certain points it seems like the negotiation is going to cause both parties to walk away. But the salesman has the confidence to really lead the discussion and control the situation. So we do similarly we do a debriefing on this video. What are the good things that the salesman had done?
Hello, Mr. Brown. I saw that Mr. Dupont, your technical director, was supposed to be joining us. That's what he told me anyway.
Hello, Lando. Mr. Dupont had some urgent business to attend to, but I think we can still go over the main points of our agreement, as we've already discussed the technical details last time Mr. Dupont and myself saw you at our last meeting. So I wanted to review our reference agreement. My management has set me some new goals in terms of costs, and I won't be able to reach them without your help.
Down here, the salesman, you can see that he actually had the foresight, okay, to talk about the technical director before he starts the negotiation. So he was asking where the technical director was, and he needs him. He's expecting the technical director to join this meeting with the procurement manager. But it may be also because it's a strategy set out by the buyer, okay, by the customer, that maybe they had already agreed beforehand not to include the technical director in this discussion, so that the negotiation can purely just go to the direction of the pricing. But you see, the salesman is still very cool and calm, so he's not afraid to go into that discussion with the procurement manager, even though the technical director is not present in this meeting.
I would be quite happy to discuss that, but first, I'd like us to go over the other important points that are outstanding, so we can close the deal.
Given the goals my management set me, you have to know that the price will be the main element of this discussion. So will you give me a discount or not?
Well, if you put me up against the wall like that without taking any time to discuss the other points of the offer, I'm afraid I won't be able to agree. Our product will create value for you. You can be sure of that, because it's excellent products. So now I'd like us to check if we're agreed on everything. Then we can come back to your main concern. But I can guarantee you that you will see things differently.
Okay, well as the price, I would like to talk about your delivery practice. The batch sizes is not right for us. The delivery time is far too long. And in terms of maintenance contract, I would like you to take a leaf out your competitor's book and give us a 1 year free maintenance.
So to summarize, as far as you are concerned, if we can close the deal, there are 3 points that need dealing with. Well, if I can give you clear answers on each one of those points, can sign today.
So from these two videos, you can see that the procurement manager, he mentioned and emphasized that, today the discussion is just purely on pricing, okay? It's the most important aspect for this particular discussion. So he wants to lead the discussion, he wants to control the situation and basically just talk about the issue of the price. You can see that the salesman refused to go into that particular mode, okay? He do not want to be led into this pricing issue by this procurement manager. So he was telling the procurement manager that, if you are forcing me to the wall, then perhaps, I don't think that we can negotiate or discuss further. But let me share with you other aspects of the deal, and then you can see things differently. Okay, so this was what the salesman said. So it's very good that, he avoid making all these price related early in the discussion, and he always bring the discussion back to other aspects of the deal. And then that's where the procurement manager talk about the batch sizes, talk about the deliveries, and then also talk about the 1 year maintenance. So these become the three issues or the three pain points of the procurement manager. So you see the salesman had successfully managed to get more things out from the procurement manager, that these are actually three things that he's very concerned about as well, not just about pricing. And he's going to emphasize point by point, okay, on these things, how he's going to give the procurement manager a solution to each of these concerns. Okay, so next we look at the fourth and fifth video.
You still haven't said anything about the overall discount.
Listen, Mr. Brown, let's deal with the point in the hand, and then we can go on the other aspects. I need to be very clear on whether you're going to help me to reduce your delivery times in return for nothing more than a deposit payment for each order.
Okay, I need quick deliveries. I'll do everything I can to get you a deposit.
So we are agreed. We cut our delivery times by 25%, in return to which you agree to pay us a deposit on each order. If you're okay with that, we can put it in writing. Right, so we're agreed on the first point. We'll deliver you your preferred batch sizes, and in return, you'll commit yourself firmly to ordering 7% more volume from us.
Okay, but I want your delivery times to be improved.
Right, so that's one point agreed. We have agreed on batch sizes and an increase in order volumes. Well, delivery times are a little more complicated because, as you know, we work on a just-in-time basis. We don't have much room for maneuver in that area unless we let you jump on the customer.
Now you can see that this salesman, he actually succeeded in bolting down, each aspect of the deal, okay, and he reconfirm with the customer on every single point, okay, before going to the next point. So it's very important for us. Okay, this is the first point. Okay, do we agree on this point? Okay, get the confirmation from the customer or from the buyer, and then you go to point number 2. Okay, so never go into point number 2 without successfully bolting down point number 1 or getting the confirmation or agreement from the buyer. Okay, on the point number 1. So always go point by point and then summarize it. You can see that when the salesman was doing it, the procurement manager was quite annoyed and basically it's like very bored. Okay, he's very bored by all these things because ultimately in his heart he wants to talk about the pricing, but the salesman is always refusing to talk about the price and going to other aspects, which actually the procurement manager also wanted to address all these issues, but he's quite impatient. So it may be a strategy of the salesman, to make the procurement manager impatient, so he will just accede to his request on increasing volumes, or giving some other kinds of concessions. So next, we look at the video number 6.
I'd be happy to agree to that, Mr. Brown, and make this effort for you. But in that case, I would like you to commit to an increase in your volume of orders. I've done some calculations. If you can increase your orders with us by just 10%, we're going to be able to deliver you just as you wish.
10%? 10%? Well, you've got a cheek. I'd say 4%.
That's not possible. Well, listen, I'll meet you halfway. Let's agree on a 7% increase, and you can tell your logistics manager that he will be getting the batches of the right size.
So now you can see that the salesman was asking for an increase in the volume by 10%. And then the procurement manager gets very uptight and angry, and he raised his voice at the salesman. But you can see that the salesman is still remain calm and cool. He don't get personal. He got shouted at by the procurement manager. But then you see that the procurement manager straight away say that 10% is not possible. So I will say 4%. And very quickly, the salesman will say that it's not possible. Okay, increase of volume by 4% is a no-go for him. So he immediately rejected that 4%. So he don't really tell the procurement manager. It's like, well, 4% seems good, but we can talk about it. Yeah, we can discuss it. He don't say that, okay? Because basically, if he say that, then he's giving the procurement manager the idea or the impression that he can do that. So he outright he rejected that 4% increase in the volume, and you can see that he remained very open to requests from the buyer, okay, and he did it very systematically, and he don't give everything out at one go. So he offers something, and he always offers something in return that is much lesser than what the buyer is requesting. So all these things, right, usually will be calculated beforehand. So it's like your concessions metrics, your negotiation strategies, your negotiation arguments. So you prepare them and you anticipate them before you go for the negotiation. So this salesman is very, very well prepared.
You still haven't said anything about the price.
I'm getting there, Mr. Brown. Unfortunately, I cannot give you the discount because, as I think I showed you during our last meeting, I'm going to be delivering you a product of even better quality, better than our previous product, and better than that of our competitors.
I want that discount, Mr. Brown. That's a condition to work with us.
And as I told you, I'm keen to carry on working with you, but not at a price that won't enable me to give you full satisfaction. Everything has a price, Mr. Brown, as you know, whether it is service or innovation. I can make you this offer. We keep the existing level of discounts for the volume traded at the moment. And I'm willing to give you 2 additional discount points for any increase in order of over 10%.
So once again, you can see that the salesman, he hold on to the pricing issue again, and then he was observing the expression and the behavior of the procurement manager. So the procurement manager just said that I want that price, okay, insisting on the price. But you see, the salesman doesn't succumb to that pressure from the procurement manager. So he still remained very calm and very cool. And then, but basically, he continued to talk. But the procurement manager doesn't even, want to take a look at him, doesn't even want to listen to him. So that's where the salesman give out another concession. So he's holding on to his concessions. He's not trying to give a lot of counter offers, but he's holding on to it according, and then he will only give it according to the circumstances, according to the situation. So he thinks that maybe the discussion is going to lead to nowhere because the procurement manager was talking about the price. So then he said, okay, I can make you another concession. Okay. But you see, he do it, but then he will still ask for a confirmation from the procurement manager. Okay. And he asked for additional discount. Okay. I mean, he's asking for additional volume for the discount. So most of the time, customers will, when we agree, let's say on point number 1, point number 2, and then we go to point number 3. And sometimes customer will change and go back to point number 1 again. So that is the reason why we have to always get the confirmation from the customer. You tell them that, but we had already agreed on point number 1. So why are we going back to point number 1 to change the terms again? So we have already agreed on point number 1, but now we are talking about point number 3. Okay, we are talking about the third variable or the third term. So point number 1 has been agreed, so don't talk about it anymore. Okay, so a lot of times customer will lead us back to change, what we have agreed on the previous terms. So be very careful to take note of that. Yeah. So this is the summary of these good points that the salesman had done. So most of the time when we go into negotiation with customers, sometimes we'll do this. We'll tell the customer like, okay, I'll be honest and straightforward with you. Okay, this is not really a very good practice because this basically, you will tell the customer that you have not been honest and you have not been straightforward all along during your conversation with them. That means like, in the past sessions, when you have talked to them, you are actually lying to them or bluffing them. You are not being honest. Okay, so we try not to say that. Okay, and then you can't find a better product other than mine. So in the market, a lot of sales guys will always tell the customer that mine is the best product. Okay, mine is always the best of the best. Okay, my competitors cannot be on par with me. Okay, not even on par with my product. So this is also something that we have to look into because there is no better product out there. Okay, it's only a matter of whether your product suits that application or suits to the needs of the customer. Okay, your product may have a lot of features, may have a lot of capabilities, but if the customer don't require that function, then what is the point of paying so much for those functions that you don't use? And in fact, they may be using a competitor product which doesn't come with that function, okay, but it's cheaper. So that basically helps to meet the KPI of the customer. So there is no product in the world that is considered as the best product or a better product. Okay, it always boils down to value for money. Whether your offer bundled together with your product, okay, is it value for money? So that's where we talk about other aspects of the deal, not just about the price, not just about the product, but on other terms like warranties, deliveries, technical support. And then we always say that, I can give you this and that, but only if you sign today. So this is more like a kind of pressure tactic to the customer, that you try to exert pressure on the customer. And customers who are experienced, they don't like that. Okay, like we can see even on the streets. Sometimes we get insurance agents or some agents who are out there on the streets, selling you some products and say that, oh, the promotion is only for today. Buy one, get one free. So if you don't buy today, you'll never get that again other days. So this is like a kind of pressure tactic that they try to use on you. So sometimes, basically if you walk away, you'll be surprised that, maybe after 1 month, they will still be, extending that kind of a promotion or that kind of offer to everybody else. Okay, so don't do that to the customer. So basically you are like going into a pressure mode, or sometimes it can sound threatening to the customer. Okay, depending on what kind of customer behavior that they have. And then this thing, trust me. Okay, we don't usually say it because trust is not given just like that. It has to be earned through your actions, through your track record. Okay, so you don't just basically beg for people to trust you. So you tell your customer, trust me, really trust me. I'm doing this for you, this and that. This is the best offer that you can get in the market. So don't say that, like trust me, okay? Because as I said, trust is to be earned and not to be given just like that. Okay, then sometimes some salesmen will resort to using sympathy from the customer. Like, I need this deal to hit my target. So I have not managed to achieve my targets for the past 6 months, and I'm being put on a probation by my superiors. So they'll fire me, if I still don't hit my target this month. So sometimes they resort to using sympathy, to get you to sign the contract. But ultimately, is this really what the buyer wants? Does your offer, your product, or your solutions really cater to the needs of the customer? Can it really solve the problem of the customer? If not, even if the customer is really, out of sympathy, they do that, they try to help you. But sometimes they get themselves into trouble, or rather, it may be just a one-off deal. Because basically you cannot go to them the second month and use the same tactic again. Then they will know that you are using sympathy as a tactic, as a strategy, just to buy their sympathy. So basically, in that case, you lose credibility in future. And in the market, the market is not big, it's not small, and people tend to spread news in the market, and they will tell their friends, or their counterparts in some other companies that be aware of these sales guys. These sales guy, tend to always use sympathy as his strategy to sell. This word, no, okay. Don't use it very too much to a customer, because basically if the customer is requesting you for some concessions or certain things, don't just say no most of the time. Of course, in some situations, we have to reject them outright, because that is something that they have already touched on your bottom line. Okay, the thing that they are asking for is non-negotiable. Okay, it's against your company policy. It's against your company rule. Okay, so that thing that you can never negotiate on, you can tell them outright, no, sorry, I can't do that. Okay, but you don't always tell them, no, I cannot. Or you don't you even tell them, like, for example, I don't know, I have to seek approval from my management. If you do that too many times, the customer will lose interest in you. So basically, you are not the correct company, you are not the correct salesperson to work with. So basically, that is one of the 5 key decisions that buyer make, when they make a decision to buy. So like I mentioned, I need to ask my manager first. So imagine, it can be quite annoying and irritating, sometimes to the customer, that they ask you for certain things, and then every time you tell them, I can't make a decision, I have to ask my manager. If you do that, the customer will say that, in that case, why do you come and talk to me? Get your manager to talk to me instead. I don't want to talk to you anymore. So you are devaluing yourself. You have never given any value to the customer. And basically, the customer don't see any value in you. He will never ever want to talk to you again in future, or for even future potential projects or partnerships, okay? Because you cannot make a decision. Even the slightest, like for example, okay, I can give you, can you give me a 5% discount? I agree that, I will increase my volume even by 30%. For example, for 5% and a 30% increase in volume is actually okay. But, the salesman may say that, oh, no, sorry, I need to ask my manager first. Yeah, so don't go into that mode. Be very well prepared. So even if you need to get the approval from the manager, you prepare your negotiation strategy, okay? So you sit down with your manager and you tell your manager, what happened if, let's say, the customer asks me for this concession? Am I allowed to give? And what will be the counter offer, or the trade-off that that is within me, or can you approve it? Okay, so always prepare with your superiors or with those people who are decision makers before you negotiate with the customer. That's not fair to me. Okay, something like, for example, if a customer will to say that your product or your solution is expensive than your competitors, and you cannot even do what your competitor do. Okay, your competitor is giving me 5 years of warranty, and you are only giving me 18 months, or let's say 24 months of warranty. And then you say, well, that's not fair to me. You tell the customer that that's not fair to me, because this is company policy. I can't do anything about it. You know, my company doesn't allow me to give a 5 years warranty. It's the maximum I can give you is only 2 years. So you're asking for 5 years is too demanding. It's not fair to me at all. Okay, so it's not within me. And then most probably the customer will say that, you know, it's never fair in the market. Okay, everywhere the world is never fair. So don't say that. You know, don't tell the customer that it's not being fair. It's like, you know, you're trying to justify yourself, like you are trying to put yourself into a difficult situation, and the reason why you're in that difficult position is because of the customer. Okay, it's like you are trying to blame the customer for putting you into a difficult position. So that's not good. So the buyer or the customer may interpret that way. You're trying to sell me something, I'm trying to negotiate with you, and now are you blaming me for putting you in a difficult situation? And then that will really make the customer angry. Then we'll do this, we'll say this like, I don't usually do this for you, Mr. Customer, but you know, for you, I'll make an exception. I'll do it for you. Okay. So if you do this, you are giving the buyer the impression that you can actually basically you're doing this for everyone. Okay, it's not just exclusive for this particular customer, but basically you're always using this strategy on everyone else. Okay, like it's like you have already reach your limit in doing something for the customer, but because of this customer, like maybe perhaps you know, I enjoy the same interest as you, we go to the same school, you know, you're like my senior, this and that, on some personal relationship, I do this for you. So customers are experienced, okay, buyers are experienced, they are not like a small kid in the market. Okay, they don't just come out from the high school. So there's no need to lie or to bluff the customer by saying that. Okay, that will really greatly reduce your credibility in front of the customer. And then you say, we are the same kind. Okay, I'm sure we can work together. So you're trying to put yourself into that same behavior or the same situation as your customer. It's like, oh, we are the same type of person, we are the same kind. So don't worry, for sure I will support you, I will help you. This is very typical of a general salesperson. A lot of salesmen always say that, like, you know, you and me, yeah, we are friends, you know, we are the same type of person. Yeah, don't worry, I will support you. For sure, we can work together. But most of the time they forget that support is not just coming out from the mouth. It's not just a word. Support is an action. Okay, you have to really put it on practice. You need to show actions to justify your support to your customer. And basically, you have to seek opportunity, the first chance from a customer, so that, you know, when they buy from you, you really can have that first opportunity to show them how you can support them. Okay, and usually support, how do you prove support? It's only when there are problems. Okay, when there are no issues, there are no problems, basically how can you show a good support? Okay, you can still do that, but to a certain extent. But if something like, for example, the product that you sell to them doesn't break down, okay, and how will customer know your response time if the thing don't break down? Something like that. Okay, tell me directly just how much you want. Okay, a lot of salesperson, they are very straightforward and very open person. So this is something like the example that we have seen in the video, the bad example, so that the salesman will straight away go to the pricing issue very fast. Okay, without talking about competition, without talking about the benefits that your product or your solutions can bring to the customer. So just tell the customer that, okay, no problem, just tell me what is the price that you want, and then if I can do it, and then it's a deal. If we can't do it, then no choice, I can't help you at all. Then basically you don't have to negotiate anymore. You have already ended the negotiation process yourself. Okay, and basically, even if, let's say, the customer asks for a 20% discount and you say, okay, I can give you a 20% discount, and then the customer give you a purchase order, maybe it's just a $1,000. But like the example that I showed you in the Excel file earlier, you see, going through the negotiation steps, it will actually give you more, you bring more benefits to yourself. Okay, instead of getting a 100K order, I've gotten myself a 500K order. Okay, it's true that I sacrifice on my margin, but at least now I get a full exclusivity from the customer. Now the customer is buying a 500K from me, and that's basically I kick off all the competition. So how does it help me? Who actually helped me in getting all these things? It's because of your negotiation process. So if you go directly into just giving the price and the customer, and it's very straightforward and give you a PO straightforwardly, then basically you end the negotiation. You don't get anything else, and then it may be just a one-off. And then in future, the customer will tell you, I give you a 1K order, okay, you give me a 20% discount. You've done it before, previously. You know, like last month, I give you that 1K order and you give me 20% discount. Now I'm giving you a 100K order. So I'm asking for 40% discount. And now you're telling me you can't do it? Why is it so? So, you know, you put yourself at the very low end of the negotiation chart, okay? Always negotiate on a high platform, okay? And then slowly going down. Don't always make yourself very down. In fact, if we talk about, you know, negotiation with hiring managers. For example, if let's say we are going to look for a new job, okay, and then we are being invited for an interview. So there are two types of person. For example, the hiring manager or the HR may ask you, so what is your expected salary? So there are two answers to it, okay, two types of a scenario. One is like, oh, you know, I'm actually asking for 200,000 per annum compensation package, but you know, I'm willing to negotiate, and you can counter offer me which you think something that is fair to me. I'm looking for something which is fair to me. Okay, so this is the first scenario. You're telling them that you are looking for 200K per annum package, and then the second guy, okay, he goes for the interview, and then he said that he was being asked the same question, what's your expected salary? And then the guy say, well, you know, I'm willing to vote for your company even if you pay me $1, but I'm sure that you will offer me something that is fair. So you see, two types of scenario, but what will be the outcome? Usually, the guy who actually asked for that 200K will get a higher salary. Of course, they will not give you 200K. Perhaps the company, they may give you for example 120K per annum. But for the second guy who said that, you know, yeah, I'm willing to work for your company even for $1 because your company is a big company, reputable company, and I'm sure that I can gain a lot of experience, valuable experience by working in your company. So you know, he cracked some jokes, and then ultimately this guy, the offer that he get maybe only 100K. Whereas the first guy is getting 120K per annum salary. Okay, so that's why when you negotiate, always negotiate on a high platform. Okay, go on a high level. Never ever go down on a very low bottom line, because else it's very hard for you to go up from bottom. Okay, it's easier from top to down, but not from below to up. Okay, so we recap and do a summary of what we have shared today. So negotiation is a process, and it actually started the moment that you make the first contact with the other party. So it's not that you had a session or you arrange a discussion with your customer, then you go and you start the negotiation with them. So that is actually not the time whereby the negotiation starts. The negotiation starts way before that. For example, now you are going to look for a new customer, okay? And then basically you don't know anything about this new customer. For example, he is a OEM, for example, okay? And then maybe you go to Google, okay? You search up the company profile, the company background. So what this company is doing, how much is their turnover? Maybe you get some financial reports, and then after that, finally, you know, you get to know about this. For example, the procurement manager. So you email to the procurement manager, you set up a meeting, and then yeah, off you go. You're going to meet him. So on the way, you know, going to meet him at the guard house. Okay, you met the security guard. For example, you try to make good relationships with the security guy. Okay, and then maybe perhaps, you know, you will take a look at the lock-in lockout book. You know, sometimes when we visit the customer at the security, you need to sign in, okay, with your company details, your name, and your mobile number. So from there, you know, if you have a good relationship with the security, you know, like maybe you ask him, hey, hi, how's your day? You know, it's a hot day. Are you doing well? You know, and then you strike, a good kind of relationship with the security. And then after that, you take a look at the sign book for quite some time, and then you're looking at maybe, oh, you saw that your competitor had actually visited this customer 1 week ago, and then you know the guy, the name. Maybe the guy is like, for example, his name is Ron. He's from Control Techniques. He visited this customer last Thursday at 2 p.m. So by looking at that, you get a lot of information. And sometimes the security may not even give you the opportunity to do that. It's like, oh, why are you trying to hold on to my lock-in, lock-out book? Just pass it back to me. And then after that, once you sign in, maybe you go into the reception area, the lobby. And then you met this the lady who is a receptionist. So maybe you strike, a topic, a conversation with her. And then after some time, maybe, you build a relationship with the receptionist, and then she may tell you that, like, she can give you information, maybe even about the competitors. It's like you say, oh, this guy Ron from Control Techniques, oh, he's been coming here every 2 days to visit the procurement manager, Mr. Simon, something like that, for example. So even the receptionist is able to give you information. And then same likewise, like maybe for the production engineer, maybe he'll tell you that, oh, your competitor actually gave us a free product last month, and we tested, and the product actually doesn't really meet our expectation. The performance wasn't that good. And then you can even look at some delivery drivers, like, you strike a conversation with them, and they may even tell you that, oh, I have reduced my number of deliveries because the economy right now is not doing well, the company is not doing well, so I'm not doing a lot of deliveries nowadays. So these are the valuable, information that you gather and you piece together, and this will back you up during your negotiation with your customer. Okay, because you understand that they have actually done the product trial with your competitor and it's not meeting their expectation. You know that your competitor is always going to visit this customer. You have a lot of information. So be it business-wise or personal reason or personal information, it's best that you gather them. So negotiation always starts, even long way before you already starts to engage the customer. Okay, then we talk about the negotiation style. Okay, whether it's a red guy or the blue guy. Okay, very extreme, red or extreme blue. We talk about the negotiation behaviors of people, what type of people they are, and as well as the negotiation climate and situation. The one that we talk about in the chart, the four boxes. Okay, the win-win situation, the win-lose, the lose-win, and the lose-lose situation. And then also we talk about the climate, the importance of the outcome, and the importance of the relationship with the customer. 5 key buying decisions. So basically the needs, the solutions, the company and the salesperson, the price, and as well as the timing. Timing is very, very important. Adapting during negotiation. So we talk about the DISC, that behavior assessment tool that we talk about. So what kind of a person you are dealing with. You have to understand whether they are more D, they are the high I guy, or they are the S or the C guy. Okay. Know your bets now. So this is the next most advantageous alternative if your negotiation fails. So if you are going to walk away, what will be your best next most advantageous alternative, okay, to you? So always know your baseline, when to walk away. And if you walk away, who will give you the next most advantageous alternative? We also talk about ZOPA, the zone of possible agreement, and how broad or how narrow your ZOPA is if it overlaps. Okay, so basically, if it doesn't overlap, then there is no negotiation. There's no zone of negotiation. So you cannot bargain at all. If there's no bargaining going to take place within the ZOPA, unless you're able to create more values and which can be accepted by the other party. And for ZOPA, it is very essential and critical to understand each other ZOPA as early as possible during the negotiation stage, because you need to strike a deal and you need to go somewhere in between, okay, the zone of the ZOPA, okay. So if you don't know, if you don't know your customer's ZOPA and your customer doesn't know your ZOPA, then you're going back and forth here and there, and basically you cannot strike a deal, okay, you cannot compromise at all. So know the ZOPA as early as possible during the negotiation stage. Then we talk about the 5 steps of negotiation, whereby the first step is to talk about your negotiation strategy. Okay, so in the negotiation strategy, we talk about your negotiation map. Okay, so you map out your objectives, and then when you're going to walk away, or then when are you going to give concessions. And step number 2 is the concessions. So you have a concessions matrix, which we had touched on earlier. So what are the things that you are able to give away? What are the things that is acceptable to you? What is the thing that is not acceptable to you? So which are the concessions that are low in cost, high in cost, and of course you map them out in your trade-off list in accordance to the importance of priority and the outcome, which is more important to you. So you map them out. So with that kind of a concessions matrix, usually you will work with your managers, you know, to go through term by term or line by line. Okay, what are the concessions that you're able to give? And this concession, when will you give? Okay, during which time of the negotiation? During which stage of the negotiation will you only give this concession? Or maybe it's best that you don't give at all. You just keep it in your pocket, you know. And third step is the third step is to have your argument, okay, negotiation argument, because you do not want to be forced into a corner by your customer, and basically you don't know how to make value added services, or you know, make your product become a value added to your customers. Okay, so know how to argue. Not really to debate with the customer, but to make the customer realize the benefits or the values that your products or your solutions can provide. Step number 4, help the customer to make a decision. Okay, so decision is very important. So mentioned a lot of times that customers sometimes they get confused with multiple offers from different suppliers. So it's always our our duty that we help the customer to make a decision. Be first. Don't go back to the customers after a long period of time, because most probably your customer will already buy from your competitors, so you are too late. Okay, and then of course the last step is to listen to feedback, okay, and reformulate. Okay, the buyer or the customers will always pose you questions and come back with maybe some, for example, technical clarifications. Okay, they will ask you questions relating to technical and commercial. Okay, and they may talk about your products as well. Okay, so these are buying signs. Okay, if they are not interested, they will never ask you that. Okay, unless it's for their knowledge. Okay, sometimes you get customers who ask a lot of questions. They have no intention to buy, but they want to gain more knowledge for themselves. But which is not a bad thing, because you're helping them to gain more knowledge. And in future, when the opportunity arises, and when they really want to buy something, you'll be the first in their mind, because you had already proven your support to them. So even you know that they are not buying, but you're still giving them a support. Okay, so this is an action related. Okay, it's an action. It's not just pure words. Imagine you tell the customers that don't worry, I will support you. But when the customer starts to ask you a lot of technical questions, or some questions not related to your product, but it's like a general knowledge purpose, and then you get annoyed by it, and then you just shut the customer off, or you don't reply at all. So it goes to show how much you really care about the customer, and how much you really talk about support to the customer. So the customers will never come back to you ever again. Okay, because without buying, he already experienced such a bad service from you. So imagine if we have a project and he needs to have good support. So you will always you'll not be even in his list of support. that he's looking for. So always listen to the feedback and reformulate your strategy. So whatever strategy that you have mapped out during your first step, okay, the first step of negotiation, you set out to determine your goals and your objective. That will actually change along the process, along the way when you negotiate with the customer, let's say for the first time or second time. So you have to always go back and reformulate. That goes the same for your concessions as well, okay? But concessions are really quite limited. Certain times we can't really do a lot of wonders for customers if it's in accordance to the company policy. Yeah. So concessions, you can also reformulate as well as your strategy. Yeah, so with that, this is the summary of what we have shared today. So thank you very much. Let me see if you have any questions. And I will try to answer some questions here. Okay, one customer, one participant actually asked about this the situation of the, let me check the slides. Okay, the negotiation situation. Okay, let me just show you the slide. Yeah, this one. So we were talking about, having the importance of the relationship and importance of the outcome. And so this participant asked, so these are the extreme, like let's say you don't really care about the relationship, but you care about the outcome, then you compete firmly. And then if let's say you care about the relationship and you don't really care about the outcome, so you have an open accommodation. So what happened if let's say we are at the center here? So that means the relationship is you care, but it's not very important. The outcome you want to strike the deal, okay? Both parties want to strike the deal, but you can also walk away in a way, okay? It's like maybe, for example, you also can get some alternatives from other suppliers or other customers, for example. So what happens if let's say it's in the middle? This situation, if it's in the middle, then it becomes a compromise, okay? So that means you don't really collaborate trustingly, or you don't avoid the negotiating with each other or one another, but most probably both parties will try ways and means to meet the demands of each other, so that then you come to a compromise. So which is not a bad thing if you strike it here. So it's more like a neutral situation. Yeah. So with that, I have no other questions. Thank you very much, everyone. So next upcoming on Thursday, 16 April, we have energy efficiency webinar by our technical manager, Mr. Satya K. So it's from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Singapore time. So I highly encourage everyone to join this webinar. Okay, if because most of us are working from home due to the COVID situation, so let's get ourselves gain more knowledge. Yeah, and thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can post them to us. So everyone, stay safe and take care of your families. Appreciate everyone for your time here, 2.5 hours on this sharing session. Thank you very much. Jaja, do you have anything else?
Thank you everyone for joining. See you on Thursday. You guys on Thursday if you'll be joining the energy efficiency training.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I hope this is more like a sharing session for everyone. Okay, it's not really a training. So just to make sure that like every one of us go back to basics. So there's no right or wrong in terms of negotiation. It always comes down to certain strategic elements, basic framework. But most of the time, striking a deal depends on personal relationships as well with the customer. So it's more on the EQ, okay, with your customer. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Please, if you have any questions, you can post it to us. Thank you. If not, bye bye.